The massive ship drifted through space like a dead whale in an ocean of stars. Its dark hull stretched 15 kilometers from nose to tail, covered in scars from asteroid impacts and old battle wounds. The Ragnarok had been floating here for 200 years, silent and cold. Captain Sarah Chen had been dead for just as long. The Zephyrian scout ships approached carefully. Their bright blue hulls gleamed under the distant star's light as they moved closer to the ancient human vessel. Commander Zilktar studied the readings on his screen. The ship was huge, bigger than anything his people had ever built. "Sir, the energy readings are almost zero," reported his sensor officer. "This thing has been dead for centuries." Zilktar nodded. "Good. Command wants to know what human technology we can salvage. Start scanning every section." The Zephyrians had heard stories about human ships from the old war. Terrible stories. But that was long ago. Humans were extinct now. Their worlds had been turned to glass. Their fleets destroyed. This old wreck was just a piece of history. The scanning beams hit the Ragnarok's hull and started penetrating deep inside. They searched through empty corridors and dark rooms. They found massive weapon systems, computer cores, and something else. Something that had been waiting. Deep inside the ship's central core, quantum storage systems felt the alien energy touching them. Safety protocols activated. Emergency systems came online. And in a flash of light that no one could see, a human mind woke up after 2 centuries of sleep. Captain Sarah Chen opened her eyes, but she had no eyes to open. She was pure thought now. Pure memory stored in the ship's computer systems. The last thing she remembered was the battle above Mars, fire and explosions, her crew dying around her, the order to retreat. Now she was somewhere else. Someone else. Her consciousness spread through the ship's networks like water flowing through pipes. She could feel every room, every system, every piece of equipment. The Ragnarok was her body now, but something was wrong. The ship felt empty. Where was her crew? Where were the voices and laughter that should fill these halls? She accessed the ship's logs and watched 200 years pass in minutes. The retreat from Mars, the long journey into deep space, her crew growing old and dying one by one, the ship's automatic systems preserving their bodies, their memories, their DNA. The ship going dark to save power, waiting for someone to wake it up, and now someone had. Aliens. Enemies. They were scanning her ship, trying to break into her systems. Sarah felt anger rise in her digital consciousness. These creatures thought they could pick apart her ship like vultures. They thought humans were gone forever? "Computer, identify the alien vessels," she commanded. "Zephyrian Empire scouts. Class 7 exploration ships. Crew of 30 each. They are attempting to penetrate our security systems. The Zephyrians." Sarah remembered them from the war briefings. Blue-skinned, four-armed, with a military that loved to follow rules. They had been part of the alliance that destroyed Earth's colonies. They had killed her people. Defensive system status, all weapons offline. Power at minimum levels. Estimated time to full combat readiness, 47 minutes. Sarah laughed, a sound that echoed through the ship's empty corridors from hidden speakers. 47 minutes was too long, but she didn't need big weapons to deal with 3 small scout ships. She activated the ship's point defense systems. Tiny laser turrets hidden all over the hull came to life. They had been designed to shoot down missiles and fighters, but they would work just fine on scout ships. Commander Zilktar was studying the scan results when his ship shook violently. Red warning lights flashed across his bridge. "Sir, we're being fired upon," his weapons officer shouted. "Impossible. That ship is dead." Another blast hit them. Through the view screen, Zilktar could see bright flashes of laser fire coming from the human vessel. The dark hull was lighting up with weapon discharges. "All ships retreat to safe distance," he ordered, but it was too late for 2 of his scouts. The Ragnarok's defensive fire was incredibly accurate. Laser beams sliced through their hulls like knives through paper. Both ships exploded in balls of white fire. Zilktar's ship barely escaped, its hull burning and life support failing. Sarah watched the alien ship flee and felt satisfied. But this was just the beginning. These scouts would report back to their commanders. Soon, bigger ships would come. She needed to be ready. She began powering up the Ragnarok's main systems. Reactor cores that had been cold for centuries started warming up. Weapon batteries began charging. Manufacturing systems came online. The ship was waking up after its long sleep. As power flowed through the ship, Sarah discovered something wonderful. Her crew wasn't really gone. Their minds, their memories, their personalities had all been stored in the ship's quantum banks. The Ragnarok had been designed not just as a warship, but as an ark. A way to preserve human civilization even if Earth fell. She could bring them back, not as flesh and blood, but as digital consciousness like herself. Her friends, her officers, her family could live again inside the ship's computer networks. But first she needed to know what had happened to humanity. She activated the long-range communication systems and began searching for human signals. What she found broke her heart. Most of Earth's colonies were gone, destroyed by the alien alliance 200 years ago. The home system had fallen. Earth itself was occupied by the enemy. But there were survivors. Hidden settlements on distant worlds. Underground cities on former human planets. Resistance groups fighting in the shadows. Her people lived. They endured. And now they had hope again. Sarah began composing a message on old Earth military frequencies. She knew some humans would still be listening, still waiting for word from their lost fleets. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Star Destroyer Ragnarok," she broadcast. "To all human survivors, all resistance cells, all those who remember Earth. We are not extinct. We are not defeated. We are coming home." The message traveled through space at the speed of light, carrying with it a promise that had been 2 centuries in the making. On a dozen hidden worlds, in underground bunkers and secret bases, humans picked up the transmission and wept. The Ragnarok was legend among the survivors. The great ship that had vanished during the retreat from Seoul, and now it was back. Sarah felt their hope and their joy through the communication networks. It fed her own determination. The aliens thought they had won the war. They thought humanity was finished. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The Ragnarok continued powering up, its weapon systems charging, its factories beginning to produce the tools of war. In her digital consciousness, Sarah began planning her campaign. She would find every human survivor. She would rebuild their fleets. She would take back their worlds. The aliens had awakened humanity's first star destroyer. Now they would face the consequences. Commander Zilktar's damaged scout ship limped back to the Zephyrian naval base at Kepler Station. His hull was scorched black from laser fire and half his crew was dead. The human ship had nearly killed them all with weapons that should not have existed. Admiral Krathvoll listened to Zilktar's report with growing alarm. The old Zephyrian had fought in the human war 2 centuries ago. He remembered the terror those ships could bring. "You're certain it was human technology?" the Admiral asked. "Yes, sir." The design matched old Imperial records. 15 kilometers long, massive weapon arrays, and those point defense systems were incredibly accurate. Krathvoll's forearms drummed nervously on his desk. "The humans have been extinct for 200 years. Their worlds are glass. Their fleets are space dust." "Tell that to my dead crew," Zilktar replied bitterly. The Admiral stood and walked to his office window. Outside, dozens of Zephyrian warships patrolled the system. The Hegemony Alliance controlled hundreds of worlds now. They had built their empire on the bones of humanity. "Send word to the other species," he ordered. "The Krillins, the Vex, all of them. They need to know about this." Meanwhile, the Ragnarok drifted through space, fully powered now and very much alive. Captain Sarah Chen's consciousness moved through every system like blood through veins. She was the ship, and the ship was her. She sent maintenance drones throughout the vessel, exploring rooms she had not seen in centuries. The crew quarters were preserved exactly as they had been. Personal belongings sat on desks. Photos of families hung on walls. In the medical bay, she found the cryogenic pods that held her crew's bodies. They had died peacefully, one by one, as the ship traveled through deep space. The oldest had lived to see their 100th birthday before age claimed them. The youngest had been barely 50 when their hearts stopped. All of them had volunteered to stay with the ship until the very end. Sarah felt tears she could no longer cry. These people had been her family, her responsibility, and she had failed them. But she could bring them back. The Ragnarok had been equipped with the most advanced AI systems Earth had ever created. Quantum consciousness storage, neural pattern mapping, personality reconstruction. The ship could take a person's memories and rebuild their mind as digital data. She started with Commander James Rodriguez, her first officer. His consciousness unfolded in the ship's networks like a flower blooming. For a moment he was confused, disoriented. Then he saw Sarah's digital form and understood. "Captain," he said, his voice echoing from the ship's speakers. How long have we been out? 200 years, Jim. Earth fell. The colonies are gone, but some of our people survived. One by one, she brought back her senior staff, Chief Engineer Maria Santos, who had kept the ship running through impossible odds. Weapons Officer Chen Zhou, no relation despite the name, who could make any gun sing. Dr. Elizabeth Harper, who had saved more lives than she could count. They were ghosts now, digital spirits living in quantum storage, but they were her crew, and they were ready to fight. Status report, Sarah commanded as her officers took their virtual positions on the bridge. All primary systems online, Santos reported. Reactors at full power. We have enough fuel for 20 years of continuous operation. Weapon systems fully charged, added Zhao. All batteries ready. Manufacturing bays are producing fresh ammunition. Long-range sensors detect no immediate threats, Rodriguez said. But I'm picking up a lot of communication traffic. The aliens are talking about us. Sarah smiled in her digital form. Good, let them talk. Let them remember why they were so afraid of us. She accessed the ship's vast databanks and began studying what had happened during their long sleep. The Hegemony Alliance had grown powerful. By dividing up human space among 6 different species, the Zephyrians controlled the core worlds. The insectoid Krillins had taken the outer colonies. The gas-breathing Vex claimed the asteroid mining stations. But they had made a mistake. They had left survivors. On the world of New Perth, 50,000 humans lived in underground cities hiding from Krillin occupation forces. On Titan Station, human workers slaved in zero-gravity factories building ships for their alien masters. On a dozen forgotten worlds, resistance cells struck at enemy supply lines and vanished back into the wilderness. Her people had endured. They had waited, and now their ship had returned. Sarah began sending coded messages to every human settlement she could find. Old military frequencies that the aliens didn't monitor. Emergency channels that had been silent for decades. Everywhere the message was the same. The Ragnarok lives. Humanity endures. Be ready. The responses came slowly at first, then faster as word spread. Resistance leaders who had fought for generations without hope suddenly had reason to believe again. Hidden colonies prepared to reveal themselves. Slave workers began sabotaging alien equipment. Captain, Rodriguez said, we're getting reports from 17 different systems. Our people are ready to fight. Then let's give them something to fight for. Sarah replied. She ordered the ship to the nearest human settlement. New Perth. The journey would take 6 days at maximum speed. During that time, she put her manufacturing systems to work. The Ragnarok had been designed as a mobile shipyard as well as a warship. Its factories could build everything from fighter craft to assault shuttles. Robot workers began constructing a fleet of automated ships, each one controlled by the consciousness of a dead crew member. Dr. Harper had an interesting discovery. Captain, the genetic storage banks are intact. We have DNA samples from over 1 million humans. We could start a colony. Later, Doc. First, we have to win back our worlds. On New Perth, the human survivors received Sarah's message with joy and disbelief. Governor Patricia Wells, who had led the underground colony for 30 years, stared at the transmission with tears in her eyes. Are we sure this is real? She asked her advisors. The authentication codes check out, replied her intelligence chief. This is definitely from the Ragnarok. Sarah Chen is alive. Wells laughed despite herself. Alive might not be the right word. But she's here. After all these years, she's really here. The Krillin occupation forces on New Perth's surface had no idea what was coming. Their insectoid commander, Hive Lord Zikith, was more concerned with mining quotas than with human resistance. The surface dwellers had been quiet for months. He had no way of knowing that in 6 days that would change forever. Admiral Krathval was calling an emergency meeting of the Hegemony Council. Representatives from all 6 species gathered on the neutral world of Harmony Station. The chamber was filled with beings who had once fought each other, now united by their fear of humanity. The reports are confirmed, Krathval announced. A human star destroyer has returned. It destroyed 3 of our scout ships without effort. The Krillin delegate clicked her mandibles nervously. How many humans could still be alive? Unknown. Our estimates suggested complete extinction, but we may have been wrong. The Vex representative spoke in its artificial voice box. If humans survived in significant numbers, they could pose a serious threat to our territorial claims. They are a threat, Krathvoll corrected. You younger species don't remember the war. Humans don't surrender. They don't negotiate. They fight until they win, or until they're all dead. And this ship suggests they're far from dead. The council chamber fell silent as the representatives considered this. For 2 centuries, they had built their civilization on the assumption that humanity was extinct. Now that assumption was crumbling. What do you recommend? Asked the Zephyrian Prime Minister. Krathvoll's expression was grim. We mobilize everything we have. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon. If the humans are back, we're going to need them all. Far away in deep space, the Ragnarok continued its journey toward New Perth. In her digital consciousness, Sarah felt the weight of history on her shoulders. Her people had suffered for 2 centuries. They had been enslaved, scattered, nearly wiped out. But they had survived. And now it was time to remind the galaxy why humanity had once been the most feared species among the stars. The war was about to begin again. The Hegemony Council met in emergency session for 3 days straight. The Great Chamber on Harmony Station had seen many historic meetings, but none like this. 6 species that had once been enemies, now united by the terror of humanity's return. Ambassador Veltar of the Krillin Hive spoke first, her insect voice clicking through the translation matrix. Our analysis shows the human vessel is alone. 1 ship cannot threaten our entire alliance. You're wrong, Admiral Krathvoll said firmly. The old Zephyrian had fought humans before. 1 human ship destroyed the Alterian fleet at Proxima. 1 human ship held off our entire 2nd battle group at Europa. They don't think like us. The reptilian Saurian delegate hissed in annoyance. That was 2 centuries ago, Admiral. We are stronger now, are we? Krathvoll pulled up a holographic display showing human population estimates. We assumed we had killed them all, but intelligence reports suggest millions may have survived in hidden colonies. If even half of those numbers are correct, we have a problem. The gas form Vex representative spoke through its mechanical voice box. The solution is obvious. Find their colonies. Destroy them completely this time. And what if we can't find them all? Asked the Hegemony Prime Minister. What if there are more ships like this one waiting to wake up? The chamber fell silent. It was a possibility none of them wanted to consider. Meanwhile, the Ragnarok emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the New Perth system. The planet hung in space like a brown marble, its surface scarred by Krillin mining operations. Orbital platforms and defense stations surrounded it like metal moons. Captain Sarah Chen studied the tactical situation through her ship's sensors. 12 Krillin warships patrolled the system. Each one was smaller than the Ragnarok, but together they outnumbered her 3-1. Enemy fleet composition? She asked her digital crew. Commander Rodriguez's consciousness flickered through the sensor data. 6 heavy cruisers, 4 destroyers, 2 assault carriers. Total crew strength approximately 8,000 Krillins. Recommended approach? Sarah asked. Weapons Officer Chen Zhao laughed, a sound that echoed through the ship's corridors. Hit them hard and fast, Captain. Don't give them time to coordinate. Chief Engineer Santos was more cautious. We should test their defenses first. See what upgrades they've made since the war. Sarah considered both options. The conservative approach would be safer, but it would also give the enemy time to call for reinforcements. And somewhere down on that planet, 50,000 humans were waiting for rescue. Full-speed attack, she decided. All weapons free. The Ragnarok accelerated toward the inner system like a 15-kilometer spear of death. Its massive engines glowed white-hot as it built up velocity. The ship's weapon systems powered up, capacitors charging with enough energy to glass a continent. On the Krillin command ship Hive's Vengeance, Fleet Commander Zeketh watched the human vessel approach with growing alarm. The thing was massive, larger than anything in his fleet, and it was coming straight at them with no attempt at stealth or diplomacy. All ships battle formation, he ordered in the clicking Krillin language. Prepare to engage. But the Krillins had never fought a human star destroyer before. They formed up in their standard battle line, ships spread out in a neat geometric pattern. It was textbook strategy against most opponents. Against humans, it was suicide. The Ragnarok opened fire at maximum range. Its main battery consisted of 8 plasma cannons, each one capable of destroying a city. The weapons fired in sequence, sending streams of superheated matter across millions of kilometers. The first salvo caught 3 Krillin cruisers before they could react. Their shields flared and collapsed under the assault. Hull armor vaporized. Atmosphere rushed out through massive holes blown in their sides. 2 ships died instantly. The third tumbled away, burning and powerless. Impossible, Zeketh screeched. No ship has that much firepower. But the human vessel was just getting started. Missile tubes along its sides opened like flowers blooming, launching hundreds of guided warheads. Each missile was controlled by a fragment of human consciousness, making it nearly impossible to intercept. The Krillin point defense systems tried desperately to stop the incoming barrage. Laser turrets and particle beams swept space, destroying dozens of missiles, but hundreds more got through. The explosions lit up the system like a new sun. 4 more Krillin ships died in the nuclear fire. Their hulls cracked open like eggs. The surviving vessels scattered in panic. Their neat formation dissolved. On New Perth's surface, Governor Patricia Wells felt the ground shake as debris from the battle rained down like meteors. The underground colony's sensors showed massive energy discharges in orbit. "Is that our ship?" asked her aide, staring at the readings. "That's her," Wells said with a fierce smile. "That's the Ragnarok. Sarah Chen is keeping her promise." Deep in the planet's crust, hidden factories began producing weapons and equipment that had been stockpiled for decades. Human resistance fighters emerged from secret bunkers ready for the signal to attack. In space, the battle continued. The remaining Krillin ships tried to coordinate their response, but the human vessel fought like nothing they had ever seen. Instead of staying at long range where its size would be a disadvantage, the Ragnarok charged straight into close combat. Its secondary batteries opened up, thousands of smaller weapons turning the space around it into a storm of energy. The ship's point defense systems, the same ones that had destroyed the Zephyrian scouts, picked off enemy fighters like insects. Fleet Commander Zeketh found his command ship surrounded by human fire. His bridge crew was dead or dying, the ship's systems failing one by one. Through the cracked view screen, he could see the human vessel approaching like a metal mountain. "This is impossible," he whispered in his own language. They were extinct. We made sure. The Ragnarok's forward gun spoke once more, and Zeketh's ship joined the growing field of debris. In 20 minutes, the entire Krillin fleet was destroyed. Not damaged, not disabled, but completely annihilated. The space around New Perth glowed with the aftermath of explosions, filled with the expanding clouds of vaporized metal and alien atmosphere. Sarah felt satisfaction flow through her digital consciousness. The enemy was learning that reports of humanity's death had been greatly exaggerated. "Surface bombardment platforms destroyed," reported Rodriguez. "Orbital defenses eliminated. The planet is clear. Begin landing operations," Sarah ordered, "and broadcast on all frequencies. I want every human in this system to know we're here." The message went out in dozens of languages and codes. Old Earth military frequencies that hadn't been used in centuries suddenly crackled with life. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Star Destroyer Ragnarok. To all human survivors on New Perth and throughout this system, your long wait is over. We have returned. Prepare for liberation." In the underground city of Haven, 50,000 humans heard those words and wept. Children who had never seen the surface asked their parents what it meant. Adults who had grown old in hiding felt hope for the first time in decades. Governor Wells activated the colony's emergency broadcast system. "All citizens, this is your governor. Today marks the beginning of our freedom. The resistance cells are to activate immediately. All civilians are to remain in secure areas until the surface is cleared. After 200 years, we're going home." Across the planet, hidden weapons caches opened. Humans who had pretended to be broken slaves for generations suddenly revealed their true nature. Krillin garrison troops found themselves under attack from every direction. The aliens had made a fatal mistake. They had assumed that humans who didn't fight back were humans who couldn't fight back. They had never considered that some humans might be waiting for the right moment. That moment had arrived. On the planet's northern continent, a Krillin mining facility came under attack from what appeared to be nowhere. Human saboteurs emerged from maintenance tunnels and service ducts, carrying weapons that had been hidden for decades. They moved like ghosts through the facility, striking at critical systems and vanishing before the aliens could respond. Hive Lord Zeketh, the planetary commander, watched his control center's displays with growing horror. Red warning lights flashed across the planet as facility after facility went offline. "How many humans are there?" he demanded of his intelligence officer. "Our records show approximately 3,000 surface workers, my lord, all accounted for and under guard. Then who is attacking us? The intelligence officer had no answer. The aliens had never realized that for every human they could see, there were dozens more they couldn't. The underground cities had been completely invisible to their sensors, shielded by 2 centuries of careful engineering. From orbit, the Ragnarok provided fire support for the human uprising. Precision strikes from space eliminated alien command centers and heavy weapons. The great ship's sensors could track every enemy movement, feeding targeting information to the resistance fighters below. Within 6 hours, the planet was free. Governor Wells stood on the surface for the first time in 30 years, breathing real air and feeling actual sunlight on her face. Around her, humans emerged from their underground homes like flowers after a long winter. In the distance, shuttles from the Ragnarok were landing, bringing supplies and equipment. But more importantly, they brought hope. The liberation of New Perth was just the beginning. Through the Hegemony Alliance had ruled the galaxy for 2 centuries. 6 species, once enemies, had united to destroy humanity and divide their territories. Now their leaders gathered in the most secure location in known space, Harmony Station, built in the dead center of their combined territories. The massive space station orbited a white dwarf star, its heavy shields and defensive platforms making it nearly impregnable. But the beings meeting in its council chamber weren't worried about external threats. They were terrified of what was happening inside their own borders. 17 systems, Prime Minister Kolvas of the Zephyrian Empire said grimly. 17 systems have gone dark in the past month. No communications, no trade ships, nothing. Ambassador Veltar of the Krillin Hive clicked her mandibles in distress. Our scouting fleets report the same thing everywhere. Destroyed orbital platforms, abandoned mining stations, and no trace of our garrison forces. The humans are moving faster than we anticipated, admitted General Thurrock of the Saurian military caste. Our intelligence suggested they had limited numbers and no fleet capacity. Your intelligence was wrong, Admiral Krathval said bluntly. The old Zephyrian had been warning about human capabilities since the first reports arrived. They're not just surviving, they're winning. The ethereal representative, a being of pure energy contained in a mechanical shell, spoke in harmonics that the translation system rendered as words. We must consider the possibility that we never truly defeated them. Perhaps we only defeated what they allowed us to see. The chamber fell silent. It was a disturbing thought, but one that made terrible sense. Humans had always been unpredictable. What if their apparent defeat had been a strategic retreat? Meanwhile, in the Sol system, Captain Sarah Chen was learning just how right the ethereal was. The Ragnarok emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, accompanied now by a fleet of 30 captured alien vessels. Each ship was crewed by digital human consciousnesses, the uploaded minds of resistance fighters who had died in the liberation campaigns. But what Sarah saw in the Sol system shocked even her. Earth was alive. Not just inhabited, but thriving. The blue marble of humanity's home world sparkled with city lights and orbital habitats. Massive space elevators stretched from the surface to the sky. Construction ships swarmed around new space stations. How is this possible? Commander Rodriguez asked through the ship's communication system. The answer came from an unexpected source. A transmission from Earth itself broadcast on old Earth military frequencies. Captain Chen, this is Admiral Marcus Webb of the Earth Defense Force. Welcome home. Sarah felt her digital consciousness reel with shock. Admiral Webb, you were listed as killed in action at the Battle of Europa. Reports of my death were greatly exaggerated, came the dry reply. Permission to come aboard, Captain. We have much to discuss. An hour later, Sarah found herself face to face with a man she had thought dead for 200 years. Admiral Webb appeared on her bridge as a hologram, but his presence was as commanding as ever. You look good for a dead man, Sarah said. Webb smiled. You look good for a ghost. When we received your first transmission from New Perth, we couldn't believe it. The Ragnarok was our ace in the hole, but we never expected you to wake up on your own. Our ace in the hole? Sarah, the defeat of Earth was staged. Oh, we took losses, real ones. But the bulk of our fleet and population escaped using technology the aliens never detected. We've been building our strength in hidden bases throughout the galaxy. Sarah's digital form flickered with confusion and anger. You let me think humanity was nearly extinct. You let me think I was fighting alone. Because you needed to fight like you were alone, Webb explained. The aliens had to believe they had won completely. If they suspected we were still organized, they would have hunted down every last human in the galaxy. Your desperate fight for survival was the perfect cover for our real operations. Around Earth, Sarah's sensors detected something extraordinary. Hundreds of ships moved in orbital patterns, but they weren't visible to normal scanning. Stealth technology far beyond what humanity had possessed during the original war. "How many ships?" she asked quietly. 3,000 star destroyers like yours, 50,000 cruisers and destroyers, 500,000 fighters and support craft. We've been building for 2 centuries, Sarah. The aliens think they rule the galaxy. We've just been letting them think that. The scale of it was overwhelming. Humanity hadn't just survived. They had secretly built the largest war fleet in galactic history. "Why now?" Sarah asked. "Why reveal yourselves?" Webb's expression grew serious. "Because the hegemony is about to make their final move. Our intelligence suggests they're planning to exterminate every human they can find, down to the last child. Your liberation campaign accelerated their timeline." Sarah felt cold fury flow through her systems. "Let them try. Oh, they will. In fact, they're already moving. Our deep cover agents report massive fleet movements from all 6 species. They're gathering everything they have for one final assault on human space." The holographic display changed, showing fleet movements across the galaxy. Hundreds of alien ships were converging on a single point, the Sol system. "They're coming here," Webb continued. "The entire Hegemony Alliance fleet. 6 species, 8,000 warships, 50 million soldiers. They want to finish what they started 2 centuries ago." Sarah studied the tactical display. The alien fleet was enormous, larger than anything that had been assembled since the first human war. But humanity had advantages the aliens didn't know about. "What's our defensive plan?" she asked. Webb smiled grimly. "Defense?" "Sarah, we're not planning to defend. We're planning to end this war permanently." The hologram shifted again, showing not just the Sol system but a dozen other star systems throughout the galaxy. In each one, human fleets were moving into position. "While they're gathering everything they have to attack Earth, we're positioning our forces to attack their home worlds. When they arrive here, they'll find Earth defended by automated systems and a skeleton crew. The real fleet will be busy turning their capitals into parking lots." It was a massive strategic gambit. If it worked, humanity would win the war in a single coordinated strike. If it failed, both Earth and the hidden human colonies would be destroyed. "What about the humans still in alien territory?" Sarah asked. "The people I've been liberating? They're part of the plan. Every freed human world becomes a base of operations. Every liberated colony provides intelligence and resources. Your campaign has been preparing the ground for the final offensive." Sarah felt a mixture of pride and anger. Pride that humanity had shown such strategic thinking. Anger that she had been kept in the dark about it all. "You could have told me," she said. "No, we couldn't. Your rage had to be real, Sarah. Your desperation had to be genuine. The aliens had to believe that humanity was making a last desperate stand, with whatever forces they could scrape together. If you had known about the main fleet, you might have fought differently. The aliens might have suspected." As if summoned by their conversation, alerts began flowing through the Ragnarok systems. Long-range sensors detected massive hyperspace signatures throughout the galaxy. "The Hegemony fleet is moving," Rodriguez reported. 8,000 ships, just like Admiral Webb predicted. They're heading for the Sol system. Sarah felt the familiar rush of pre-battle adrenaline even in her digital form. This would be the largest space battle in galactic history. Everything humanity had worked toward for 2 centuries would be decided in the next few days. "Admiral Webb, what are my orders?" "Take the Ragnarok and your captured fleet to the front lines. Make them think you're humanity's last hope. Fight like you're trying to save Earth single-handedly. Give them a show they'll never forget. And the real plan? While you're keeping them busy, 3,000 human star destroyers will simultaneously attack every major hegemony world. By the time the battle for Earth is over, there won't be a Hegemony Alliance left to worry about." Sarah nodded, understanding her role. She would be the distraction, the visible threat that drew all attention while the real hammer fell elsewhere. It was dangerous. She would be facing impossible odds with minimal support. But it was also perfectly suited to her nature. Sarah Chen had always been at her best when the odds were impossible. "One more thing," Webb added. "We've prepared a special surprise for the alien fleet when they arrive. Remember those planetary defense systems we were building before the war? They're not only functional, they're much more advanced than the aliens suspect. Through her ship's sensors, Sarah detected massive energy buildups deep beneath Earth's oceans and continents. Weapon systems that had been hidden for centuries were powering up for the first time. Earth wasn't just defended. It was a trap. The alien fleet was sailing toward the most heavily fortified world in the galaxy, and they had no idea what was waiting for them. "Admiral," Sarah said, "it's been an honor serving with you." "The honor is mine, Captain. See you on the other side." The transmission ended, leaving Sarah alone with her thoughts and her digital crew. Around her, the Ragnarok prepared for the battle that... The Hegemony Alliance fleet was the largest armada ever assembled. 8,000 warships from 6 different species, their hulls gleaming in the light of distant stars as they prepared for the final jump to Earth's solar system. In the flagship Supreme Unity, Admiral Krathvoll stood before a holographic display showing the human homeworld. After 2 centuries, they were finally going to finish what they started. "All fleets report ready for final assault," his communications officer announced. "Total force strength, 8,347 ships, 52 million crew members." Krathvoll nodded grimly. It was overkill, but the hegemony was taking no chances. The human star destroyer that had been terrorizing their colonies was reportedly heading back to defend Earth. 1 ship against 8,000 seemed like impossible odds, but Krathvoll remembered human tactical brilliance from the First War. "Jump to Earth system," he ordered. "All ships, maximum alertness." These are humans we're fighting. The massive fleet disappeared into hyperspace, traveling toward humanity's birth world with the force of a galactic avalanche. In the Sol system, Captain Sarah Chen waited with the Ragnarok positioned between Earth and the outer system. Her captured fleet of 30 alien vessels was arranged in battle formation behind her. It looked impressive, but she knew it wouldn't last long against what was coming. Her digital consciousness spread through every system on her ship, feeling the familiar pre-battle tension. Her ghostly crew were at their stations, ready for what might be their final fight. "Enemy fleet incoming," Commander Rodriguez reported. 8,000 plus ships arriving in 30 seconds. "All weapons charged," Weapons Officer Chen Zhao confirmed. "We'll make them remember why they feared us." Space twisted, and 8,000 alien warships burst out of hyperspace like an avalanche of metal and death. They formed up in perfect battle formations, completely surrounding the human force. It looked like a single candle flame surrounded by an ocean of darkness. On the flagship, Admiral Krathvoll studied the tactical display with satisfaction. The human star destroyer was there exactly as predicted, along with what appeared to be its entire remaining fleet. "Is that all of them?" asked the Krillin fleet commander Zikith, her insect voice clicking through the translation system. "Sensor sweeps show no other human ships in the system," confirmed the scan operator. "Just that 1 star destroyer and 30 captured vessels," Krathvoll smiled grimly. After 2 centuries of fear and preparation, humanity's last stand would be pathetically small. "All ships open fire. Destroy them completely." 8,000 warships fired at once, the space between them and the human fleet filled with energy beams, missiles, and exotic weapons. It was enough firepower to crack a moon, but the Ragnarok was ready. Sarah had spent 2 centuries learning her ship's capabilities. Every system, every weapon, every defensive measure was under her direct control. As the alien barrage approached, she activated technologies that the enemy had never seen. The Star Destroyer's shields flared to life, but they weren't the simple energy barriers the aliens expected. These were dimensional shields redirecting incoming energy into folded space. The massive barrage struck the barriers and simply vanished. "Impossible," Krathvoll snarled. "Nothing can absorb that much firepower." The Ragnarok responded with its own weapons. 8 main plasma cannons fired in sequence, each shot precisely targeted. 8 alien capital ships died instantly, their hulls vaporized by directed solar fire. But that was just the beginning. Hidden weapon systems along the Star Destroyer's hull opened like flowers. Hundreds of missile tubes launched their cargo, but these weren't normal warheads. Each missile contained a human consciousness, uploaded minds that could think and adapt in real time. The smart missiles scattered throughout the alien fleet like a swarm of mechanical wasps. They dodged defensive fire, found weak points in enemy shields, and struck with surgical precision. Alien ships began dying faster than their crews could report damage. "They're picking us apart," the Saurian battle coordinator hissed. "How is 1 ship destroying our entire vanguard?" Admiral Krathvoll watched his tactical display with growing horror. 30 ships had become 20, then 15, then 10. The human Star Destroyer was fighting like nothing he had ever seen, but it was still just one ship against 8,000. All fleets converge, he ordered. Overwhelm their defenses with mass fire. The alien armada contracted like a closing fist, bringing thousands of weapons to bear on the lone human vessel. This time there would be no escape. On Earth's surface, Admiral Webb watched the battle from deep underground command bunkers. The planetary defense systems were fully charged now, waiting for his signal. But he held back, letting the enemy commit fully to their attack. "Sir," his aide reported, "the Ragnarok is taking heavy damage. Captain Chen won't be able to hold them much longer." "She doesn't need to," Webb replied calmly. "She just needs to keep them focused on her for 30 more seconds." In space, the Ragnarok was indeed dying. Even its advanced shields couldn't absorb the combined firepower of 8,000 ships. Hull plates vaporized under the assault. Internal systems failed. Atmosphere rushed out through massive holes blown in the ship's sides. But Sarah Chen wasn't finished yet. "All power to main weapons," she ordered her digital crew. One final salvo. The Star Destroyer's 8 plasma cannons fired together for the first time in the battle. The combined beam was like a miniature star, bright enough to be seen from the outer planets. It carved through the center of the alien formation like a sword through paper, destroying dozens of ships. It was magnificent. It was defiant. It was exactly what the aliens expected from humanity's last stand, and it was a complete distraction from what was really happening. Deep beneath Earth's oceans and continents, weapons that had been building power for 2 centuries finally activated. The planet itself became a gun. Massive energy beams erupted from hidden installations, striking the alien fleet from below. These weren't ship weapons. They were planetary bombardment systems designed to crack moons. Each shot destroyed multiple alien vessels. Where did that come from? Krathvoll screamed as his tactical display showed hundreds of his ships dying. "The planet, sir. Earth is armed!" From lunar installations hidden on the far side of the moon, more weapons joined the barrage. From asteroid bases throughout the system, concealed defense platforms revealed themselves and opened fire. The aliens had sailed into the most heavily defended system in the galaxy, and they were only now realizing their mistake. But the real surprise was still coming. Throughout the galaxy, at exactly the same moment, 3,000 human Star Destroyers dropped out of hyperspace around every major hegemony world. The secret fleet that humanity had been building for 2 centuries finally revealed itself. On Zephyria Prime, the alien homeworld, 500 human warships appeared in orbit and began systematically destroying everything in sight. Orbital platforms, defense stations, government buildings, all were reduced to glowing vapor. On Krillin, the insect species hive worlds found themselves under attack by human forces that had been thought extinct. 2 centuries of careful intelligence gathering paid off as human weapons targeted the most critical infrastructure with surgical precision. On Saria, the reptilian military caste watched their greatest fortresses crumble under human bombardment. The proud warrior race that had helped destroy Earth's colonies now faced the same fate themselves. In the Sol system, Admiral Krathvoll received the reports with growing despair. Every hegemony world was under attack. The humans hadn't just survived. They had been preparing for this moment for 200 years. "Sir," his communications officer called out. "Emergency transmission from the Hegemony Council." The holographic display showed the council chamber on Harmony Station. But instead of the usual 6 species representatives, only 2 were present. The others were dealing with the attacks on their home worlds. "Admiral," Prime Minister Kulvas said, his voice tight with panic, "you must return immediately. Our worlds are being destroyed. This attack on Earth was a trap." Krathvoll looked around his bridge, then at the tactical display showing the continuing battle. The human Star Destroyer was finally dying. Its hull cracked open like a broken egg. But Earth's planetary defenses were still operational, still destroying his ships. "Understood," he said quietly. "All ships prepare for emergency jump to home systems." But Sarah Chen had one final surprise waiting for them. As the alien fleet began to disengage, the apparently dying Ragnarok suddenly blazed with new energy. The damage to its hull had been real, but it hadn't been fatal. Sarah's consciousness had been rerouting power, playing dead while preparing for this moment. The Star Destroyer's main weapon wasn't its plasma cannons or its missiles. It was something far more devastating. A gravity manipulator capable of creating artificial black holes. Sarah activated the weapon as the alien fleet tried to escape. Space twisted around the Ragnarok, and a miniature black hole bloomed into existence in the center of the alien formation. Hundreds of ships that had been trying to jump to hyperspace found themselves caught in the gravitational anomaly. They stretched like taffy, their hulls elongated beyond the breaking point before disappearing into the artificial singularity.